Welcome to this special interfaith service celebrating the 50th anniversary of the UN. This Episcopal Cathedral, located in the heart of San Francisco atop Nob Hill, has long celebrated the human family through special events like this one, as well as through ministries of spirit, education, and healing. I'm Charles Hunt, and I'll be your host for today's tribute to peace and reconciliation. The UN 50 Committee asked Grace Cathedral to invite leaders of over 45 major religions of the world to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations. Today, their messages of faith will be heard throughout the service, distinctly separate traditions finding a common voice for peace. You'll also hear from a number of special guests, including heads of state and UN Secretary General Boutros Boutros-Ghali. A highlight of the service will be the address given by a young person selected from 200 international college students representing 30 different faiths. These college students have been meeting in an interfaith youth conference here in San Francisco for the past 4 days. Special guests include Nobel laureates Lech Walesa, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Dr. Oscar Arias Sanchez, and Betty Williams, Her Royal Highness Princess Margaret, Countess of Snowdon, San Francisco Mayor Frank Jordan, ambassadors to the United Nations, and musicians from throughout the world. 2 years ago, Episcopal Bishop William Swing was asked if Grace Cathedral would host this gathering of people of faith and spirit from around the world. Today's service marks a turning point for the United Nations.
This is a great day for Grace Cathedral, for the United Nations, and for all people of faith. Welcome. I'm William Swing, the Episcopal Bishop of the Diocese of California. We're here today to celebrate the contribution of world religions in the founding of the United Nations, and to reaffirm the role of communities of faith in sustaining a peaceful world. Our hope for this event is to regenerate the urgency that led world leaders of 50 years ago to meet here in San Francisco, and now to create a strong forum of people of faith and spirituality. A forum that includes traditional paths of faith as well as paths of individual discovery. We intend this forum to work with the United Nations for the common good in this world, which all of us must learn to share. We're celebrating the spirit of all humanity today, and we thank you for joining us. I am Bishop William Swing, and on behalf of the San Francisco and Bay Area Interfaith Council, it is my great privilege to extend a warm greeting and welcome to the religious leaders, to the United Nations ambassadors, to all dignitaries, and to our friends. Our worship service today in this interfaith service will be guided by Alan Jones, the Dean of Grace Cathedral.
Friends of all faiths, greetings. It is a joy and privilege to welcome representatives of the human family to this holy place on this day of festival. I am deeply honored to welcome the General Secretary of the United Nations, as well as our honored guests from around the world. We are here to celebrate the vision and achievements of the family of nations as expressed in the United Nations, and to give voice to the highest aspirations of the human family as we strive for reconciliation, healing, and peace among the peoples of the earth. This occasion is not only a celebration, but also a summons to the great religious traditions of the world to be in deeper conversation with each other as agents of understanding, workers for peace, as guarantors of the sacredness of the earth, and as guardians of the dignity of every human being. I now invite you to join me in reciting a section of the preamble to the United Nations Charter, after which there will be a moment of silence in remembrance of all who have given their lives in humanitarian and peace missions of the United Nations. And we say together, we, the peoples of the United Nations, determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime has brought untold sorrow to mankind, and to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, in the equal rights of men and women and of nations large and small, and to establish conditions under which justice and respect for the obligations arising from treaties and other sources of international law can be maintained, and to promote social progress and better standards of life in larger freedom, and for these ends to practice tolerance and live together in peace with one another as good neighbors, and to unite our strength to maintain international peace and security, and to ensure by the acceptance of principles and the institution of methods that armed force shall not be used save in the common interest, and to employ international machinery for the promotion of the economic and social advancement of all peoples, have resolved to combine our efforts to accomplish these aims. Accordingly, our respective governments, through representatives assembled in the city of San Francisco, who have exhibited their full powers found to be in good and due form, have agreed to the present Charter of the United Nations and do hereby establish an international organization to be known as the United Nations. it is a distinct honor to introduce the General Secretary of the United Nations to give us his greeting.
Sisters and brothers, 50 years ago, the world was tired of war, tired of poverty, and tired of injustice. The United Nations was born to reject a culture of death and to create a culture of life, a culture of peace. In San Francisco, politics was the handmaiden of hope. The debate, not always harmonious, it was conducted in the recognition that delegates were not present to serve the interest of their country only. The delegates of San Francisco were building an edifice for all humanity. On that day, a half-century ago, spiritual leaders asked the delegates to compete with one another, not for primacy of power, but for primacy of justice. Today, we must ask ourselves how far we have carried the torch that was lit in San Francisco. It is all too easy to despair about the world. Wars and civil strife take their toll of innocent lives. Poverty and injustice bring down the hopes of millions. But we must cast aside the temptation of despair. The United Nations, in its 50 years, has spared the world much suffering. Wars have been prevented. Peace has been built by diplomacy and courage. Lives have been improved by soldiers of development. Human rights have been given universal stature. Democratization is strengthening the foundation of development and peace. In all our difficulties, let us recognize that the United Nations is more than a political construct. It is a response to the yearning in every heart, yearning for a world in which all may share peace and prosperity, and where all have a voice in the future. We give thanks for what has been achieved. We ask for support so that we may proceed. We ask for vision so that we may be just. We ask for wisdom so that we may succeed. With faith in what is right and in recognition of what has been given to us, let us go forward in confidence and in the conviction that the United Nations will endure because it embodies the yearning of the family of nations.
We now invite children's choirs from various continents to sing for us. And as they process down the aisle, they will be carrying waters from the rivers and sacred places of the world and bringing flowers, symbols of peace and hope. And they will pour the waters of the world into the great bowl of unity, The flowers and the water together symbolize our common purpose and unity of resolve on this special day.
"75 members from the International Children's Choir, representing choirs of 11 different countries, are carrying the sacred waters and flowers. The sacred waters have been gathered from over 30 sources, such as the Amazon River, the Chamayo in New Mexico, the Delphi in Greece, the Ganges River in India, the Jordan River in Israel, from the Nile River in Egypt, the Red Sea in Russia, in Israel, the Volga River in Russia, and from religious sites in Lourdes, France, Glastonbury, England, and Hawaii. The children participating in this event come from Argentina, Armenia, Austria, Canada, Finland, Latvia, Mexico City, Russia, Taiwan, Yugoslavia, and the United States. Singing For the Earth Forever Turning, composed by Kim Oler. Six leaders of different faiths will now read the opening of the Parliament of World Religions Declaration.
We declare we are interdependent. Each of us depends on the well-being of the whole. And so we have respect for the community of living beings, for people, for animals and plants, and for the preservation of the earth, the air, the water, and soil. We take individual responsibility for all we do. All our decisions, actions, and failures to act have consequences.
We must treat others as we wish others to treat us. We make a commitment to respect life and dignity, individuality and diversity, so that every person is treated humanely without exception. We must have patience and acceptance. We must be able to forgive learning from the past, but never allowing ourselves to be enslaved by memories of hate. Opening our hearts to one another, we must sink our narrow differences for the cause of the world community, practicing a culture of solidarity and relatedness.
We consider humankind our family. We must strive to be kind and generous. We must not live for ourselves alone, but should also serve others, never forgetting the children, the aged, the poor, the suffering, the disabled, the refugees, and the lonely. No person should ever be considered or treated as a second-class citizen or be exploited in any way whatsoever. There should be equal partnership between men and women. We must not commit any kind of sexual immorality. We must put behind us all forms of domination or abuse.
We commit ourselves to culture of nonviolence, respect, justice, and peace. We shall not oppress, injure, torture, or kill other human beings, forsaking violence as a means of settling differences.
We must strive for social justice in the economic order in which everyone has an equal chance to reach full potential as a human being. We must speak and act truthfully and with compassion, dealing fairly with all and avoiding prejudice and hatred. We must not steal. We must move beyond the dominance of greed for power, prestige, money, and consumption to make a just and peaceful world.
Earth cannot be changed for the better unless the consciousness of individuals is changed first. We pledge to increase our awareness by disciplining our mind, by meditation, by prayer, by positive thinking. Without risk and a readiness to sacrifice, there can be no fundamental change in our situation. Therefore, we commit ourselves to this global ethic, to understanding one another, and to socially beneficial, peace-fostering, and nature-friendly ways of life.
We invite all people, whether religious or not, to do the same.
خداوند مهربان
Mrs. Zora Samadoni, representing the Baha'i faith, is chanting a sacred Baha'i prayer for unity. It is sung in Persian in a style of chant which is 2,500 years old.
در ظل وحدانیت تو کل جمیع را محافظ فرمایی و کل را به نظر مکرمت منظور داری.
Please be seated. During the past week, 200 young people from around the world have been in conversation with one another about hope for a world tired of and torn by conflict. One of them has come to this gathering to give a greeting and issue a challenge to the faith communities represented here. And I am happy and honored to introduce to you Farid Senzai from Afghanistan.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. As a young boy from a small village in Afghanistan, I witnessed the horrible atrocities of war. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979 had a devastating effect on millions of families, none spared from the suffering. Painful memories of young boys drafted into the army at the tender age of 13, never seeing their 14th birthday, are forever etched in my heart, teaching me an invaluable lesson. For some, the numbers are faceless statistics, bearing no emotional value. But for others, too many it seems, those images are of friends, family, and loved ones. I have seen weeping mothers with mutilated babies in their arms. I have seen children with hands blown off, having picked up a toy attached to a grenade. I have also seen little boys and girls walking around the street, desperately seeking their parents, whom they had lost, praying passionately that someday they would be reunited. I remember my childhood, the innocent feeling of playing outside my house, having fun, enjoying life. Tragically, for countless Afghans, childhood will never be experienced. This is the reality of our world, not the past, but indeed the present. Bosnia, Guatemala, Rwanda, Chechnya, the list is endless. Never again, I am sad to say, is happening again. But these stories are not in vain. Indeed, they call us. No, they beg us to act. My experiences in Afghanistan reminds me of my obligations, not simply as a Muslim, but as a human, to respond to the call of justice. I share my stories with you as a challenge to the youth of faith in the world today to listen and feel in your hearts the images that are all too common. Be the voice of the underrepresented, of those who have no voice. We inherit a world of pain and suffering, oppression and abuse. From the starvation of children in Somalia to the continued and seemingly endless ethnic cleansing in Bosnia. These are pressing issues which we must address. Share with others your experiences and concerns, as I am doing now with you, that we may all benefit and understand the common human threads that bond us all. As I challenge myself, so I challenge you. End the suffering. The issues cross all lines. National borders are increasingly unimportant. We must work together across political lines, across social and economic lines, and indeed across religious lines. And I challenge you, let us together develop a process that is based on the welfare of the world, not just the welfare of my own country. Demand to be heard. Demand that all people be treated with respect. Demand equal rights for all, for the poor, for women, for the underrepresented. In a word, for all women and men. We have the vision, the power, and the faith to make our dream a reality. We, as people of faith, can transcend the boundaries that have divided us for so long. I am excited for the future. Let us begin now, celebrating our diversity, and in the face of challenges, let us offer a bright, bold leadership for all. Thank you.
Sung by the congregation. Ludwig van Beethoven wrote this music to a poem by Schiller. Always a personal favorite of Beethoven's, Ode to Freedom was sung in celebration of the fall of the Berlin Wall during a recital of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.
symbol of all that unites us and of our commitment to be agents of peace, reconciliation, and justice. We ask all the congregation to join with the leaders of the traditions represented here today to reverence each other as a sign of peace and celebration. And so, we invite you to exchange the sign of peace with your neighbors in whatever way your tradition teaches.
As great religions gather around this altar to beseech,
Episcopal Bishop William Swing has now asked all the leaders of the world faiths to gather around a bowl of sacred waters and flowers. As they greet each other, they share their own tradition's greeting and sign of peace. The congregation is joining the leaders of the traditions represented here today to reverence each other.
Beseech a divine blessing on the nations united. First, let us pray for the great religions. Let us first pray for the great religions of the world. And I would invite you now to hold hands with the person next to you for our final blessing. O eternal Creator, as we end this half-century and dedicate ourselves anew to being responsible stewards of this good earth and of the family of nations in the coming century of millennium, we bow our hearts seeking the blessing of the author of all life. May our hands join together in a moment of unity be a symbol of all that we strive for: one family, one resolve to serve, one cry for justice, one desire to honor the source of life, one admiration for glimpses of beauty, one. Brothers and sisters in the kinship of God, let us greet one another in this family. Peace.
This kind of event, having such weight as it does, and attended by the diplomatic elite, with the challenges brought forth, how will that trickle down to the average person?
I think the trickling down thing is a great worry, partly because people nowadays distrust institutions. People distrust the government, they distrust the United Nations, they distrust universal effort to try and make a difference. But I think we need to recover a new faith in our institutions, and we are our institutions. It isn't somebody else. And human beings cannot go it alone. We need institutions, and that means we have to be prepared for all the boring, frustrating aspects of belonging to an institution, whether it's the PTA or a church or a synagogue or a temple. We have to deal with each other, and we can be frustrating, irritating, boring, confrontative, and we need very much to learn what it is to engage one another in argument and in conversation, to be with one another and not to run away from each other, and not to run away from our institutions as weak and as human and flawed as they are, I think.
With us now is Fareed Sensai. Fareed is the young man that was elected by over 200 of his peers this week. Fareed, how does it feel now, right after the event?
Oh, it's exciting. It's nice that it's over. It's been a lot of pressure.
Well, tell us a little bit about the youth conference this week and the challenges that you faced.
Well, we came together about 4 days ago, and we discussed the issues of justice around the world. It was a challenge. By the second day, we realized that the issues that we were discussing were not easy to answer, and we realized that there were no easy answers. But I think by the third and fourth day, we realized that there may not be some answers that we could find in those 4 days, but we built some common ground and found some understanding among all the different religions and different groups that were attending.
We're very excited about the fact that the United Nations invited us to participate in this interfaith service, and we have a ministry called GraceCom, which is using the new technology to get the word out about peace and reconciliation. And I was extremely inspired by these young people who've been so wonderful in helping us to understand the need for greater conversation and deeper conversation about the things that concern us, and to understand the complexities of the world and the varieties of the challenges that are facing us. And we seek at Grace Cathedral to be, with many other institutions, to seek to be part of an ongoing conversation concerning justice and reconciliation and peace, and we feel very, very, very privileged to be part of that.
It's been a wonderful service today, and we thank you for joining us for this interfaith service celebrating the 50th anniversary of the United Nations from Grace Cathedral. Once again, for Alan Jones, the Dean, and myself, good day.